Oh, hell no.
You are experiencing a car accident.
The man had only dozed off while driving. Two large trucks suddenly appeared, trapping him in between. The man woke up to find countless robots in the trucks. They lit up their red lights and charged at him, trying to fake the illusion of his car accident death.
Get off my car!
Who exactly is this man? And why are the robots harming humans? Everything begins with a robotics company. In the future world, robotic services have permeated everyday life. They have liberated most of the labor force. Robots have become an inseparable part of life. Just like smartphones, the protagonist Will is completely the opposite. As a federal agent, he has always believed that robots are dangerous. However, since robots were invented, decades have passed, and there has not been a single error from any robot. This is because all robots are programmed with three fundamental laws before they leave the factory. First, robots must not harm humans, nor allow humans to come to harm. Second, robots must obey human commands, unless it conflicts with the first law. Third, robots must protect their own existence, unless it conflicts with the first and second laws. With these three laws in place, robots coexist harmoniously within human society. Will's performance at the police station has been declining. Those around him think he has a persecution complex. He doesn't have many friends either. Yet, Will firmly believed that robots will pose a threat to humanity. One day, Will saw a robot running down the street with a package. Thinking it was a robbery, he chased after it. But when he caught up to the robot, he discovered that it was just giving medicine to a woman who had asthma. He could only apologize and return to the police station. At this moment, his colleagues learned of the incident and began to mock him. His supervisor also warned him that this was his last chance. Just as Will was finishing up his apology, he received an emergency call. Dr. Lang, the father of robots, was found dead in the company. Will quickly drove to the robotics headquarters. Dr. Lang left behind a holographic image. It seemed he wanted to tell Will some secret. The doctor leaped from his bedroom on one of the upper floors, and the door to the room was locked from the inside, eliminating the possibility of homicide. Will then went upstairs accompanied by expert Susan. He asked if there was 24-hour surveillance here. Susan replied that the surveillance system here was the most advanced. All information was transmitted to the central processor. Then they stood before the holographic display. The central processor, Vicky, appeared to assist them. It was the first AI designed by Dr. Lang, but when Will asked it to retrieve the footage before the doctor's suicide, Vicky searched and indicated that the recording was damaged. Susan was instantly embarrassed. She had to take Will to the doctor's lab. The room was filled with robot parts. It was clear that the doctor was a workaholic. Will then looked at the hole in the glass before him. Suddenly, he picked up a chair and smashed it against another piece of glass. But this was bulletproof glass. Even an adult man couldn't break it. How could an elderly man possibly break through? Susan said the door was locked from the inside, and no one could get in. Will suddenly thought of something. He raised his gun and cautiously looked around. There was also a possibility that the robots here had killed the doctor, but Susan firmly believed that the three laws would restrain the robots. As they were talking, a robot emerged from a pile of garbage. It startled both of them. Will's gun was knocked away and flew in front of the robot. He quickly drew another handgun. Susan told Will not to panic. She gave the command to shut down the robot. Then Susan bent down to pick up the gun on the ground. Unexpectedly, the robot was a decoy. It snatched the gun from her hand and pointed it at Will, but instead of firing, it turned and jumped towards the window. Will successfully shot it in the thigh. The ground was dented where the robot landed. By the time Will chased outside, the robot had already vanished. His handgun was left on the ground, and there was a lot of liquid oozing from the robot on the ground. It seemed it was seriously injured. Susan said it would definitely go to the factory to fix itself. They then drove to the robotics factory. When they arrived, they found that the factory was fully automated. They actually put robots in charge of producing robots. Susan checked the inventory for the day and discovered there should have been 1,000 robots, but there was now one extra. This indicated that the one that had just escaped was hiding here. Susan suggested starting a search immediately, but Will didn't care about those metal shells. He drew his gun and ordered all the robots to remain still. After all, the one that escaped wouldn't obey human commands. Susan quickly stepped forward to stop him. She warned Will that these were company assets, and he would have to pay for any damage. Yet, he still disabled one of them. Just as he was about to fire again, the escaping robot moved, but Will still failed to catch it. Instead, it ambushed him from behind, and threw him against the wall. Then the robot turned and ran to the door, prying it open. Once outside, it found itself surrounded by the police. Even if it could climb with its bare hands, it wouldn't help. In the end, it was captured by the police. Will returned to the police station to interrogate the robot. Although his superior was worried about the trouble, he still gave him 5 minutes. When the robot saw Will blink, it mimicked him. It even asked him what that meant. Will said it was a sign of trust between humans. It wouldn't understand that. Little did they know that this action would save his life later. Will took out a photo of the doctor to show the robot. It seemed to be saddened by the doctor's death. Moreover, it insisted that it wasn't the killer. Will implied that it was the one that killed the doctor. He also changed the subject. Unexpectedly, this angered the robot before him. Will was also taken aback. He didn't expect the robot to feel anger as well. Then the robot said its name was Sunny. It referred to the doctor as its father, because the doctor created Sunny, and gave it the ability to learn. It had human emotions and could even dream. Suddenly, Sunny began to talk to itself. It said it had made a mistake. Then Sunny seemed to make some sort of decision. It even asked Will if he would do anything for the ones he loved. At this moment, the board member Lawrence from the robotics company suddenly arrived. He claimed Sunny had malfunctioned, and wanted to take it back to destroy it. Will strongly opposed, and wanted his superior to contact the mayor. Unexpectedly, Lawrence directly brought the call. The mayor spoke a few words with Will's superior on the line. Thus, Sunny was taken back to the robotics company. Will's superior had to close the case on the suicide, but Will felt that Lawrence was a bit too eager. He seemed to be deliberately hiding something. Will decided to investigate the doctor's house. When he arrived, he found a machine parked at the entrance. The demolition robot was scheduled to demolish the doctor's house at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. This further convinced Will that someone wanted to erase certain secrets. He went inside to look for clues. Then Will sat at the doctor's desk, flipping through records. Suddenly, the doctor's cat jumped out, startling Will. He didn't notice that the machine outside had already activated. Will hadn't found anything useful, and was about to leave. Suddenly, a beam of light shone in. The demolition robot instantly destroyed the second floor. The man fell to the first floor. He finally escaped through the front door at the last moment. Will didn't forget to pick up the cat as he left. Seeing Will run out, the demolition robot also stopped working. Will went to Susan's house and told her everything that had happened, but she found out through the records that the demolition was scheduled for 8 p.m. She thought Will had misread the time and accidentally entered the demolition site. Will, in despair, questioned her why she believed in robots so much, and why everyone thought robots were absolutely safe. The two got into an argument. Will could only leave. The next day, the city's residents were getting free replacements for their 5th-generation robots. Will went to Grandma Chi-Chi's house for a meal. He discovered that she also had a 5th-generation robot at her home. Will barely ate a few bites, and just wanted to leave. He returned to the police station to continue investigating the doctor's case. Lawrence learned that he still wanted to investigate. He took advantage of Will's busy schedule and sent out 2 trucks transporting robots to trap him in between. When Will finally reacted, the truck in front of him opened its doors. Inside were all 5th-generation robots. Suddenly, one of the robots was activated and attacked his car. Will quickly drew his gun and destroyed it, but other robots were activated one after another, charging at Will. It seemed they were intent on killing him. Will tried to escape through the side of the tunnel, but was blocked by the truck. He finally squeezed his way out, but there were just too many robots. Will yanked the steering wheel hard. He used centrifugal force to fling the robots off. The large truck behind him crashed into the tunnel and exploded. Will's car was also flipped over and crashed into a pillar. Coming to a stop, he struggled to crawl out of the vehicle. Will was seriously injured. He barely had time to rest when a nearby car suddenly started moving. Then it charged toward Will. One robot that survived wanted to kill Will. Unexpectedly, Will had a mechanical arm. The robot was knocked down by Will. Suddenly, the sound of police sirens echoed from afar. The robot turned and rushed toward the fire to destroy any evidence of its existence. Will was still wondering why it did this until the police arrived. He realized that no one at the scene believed him. Even his superiors thought he was hallucinating. Will explained that the robot wanted to assassinate him, but there was no trace of robots around. His superior had to suspend him temporarily. Will tossed aside his badge and left. On the other side, Susan arrived at the laboratory. and wanted to see what was wrong with Sunny. Susan found that Sunny wasn't connected to Vicky, and it had a special processor inside. The alloy density of its skeleton was much higher than normal levels. She hurried to find Will. At this moment, Will was at home repairing his arm. Susan told him about her findings. Sunny knew the 3 laws, but could choose not to obey them. This indicated that Sunny was a new life with self-awareness. After hearing this, Will wanted to go to the company with her to investigate further. Then Susan fiddled with non-smart devices at his home. She was used to voice control, and couldn't operate these old relics. Susan accidentally discovered that Will seemed to have undergone mechanical modifications. She walked over to examine Will's body, and found that his entire left arm and left lung were mechanical. Will explained the reason to her. Years ago, he had a car accident. His and another car were crashed into the water. He originally thought everyone would die. At this moment, a 4th-generation robot passed by and rescued him. He had wanted the robot to save a little girl, but the robot calculated that Will had a 41% chance of survival, while the girl had only an 11% chance, so the robot chose to save Will. Will believed that the girl was the hope of a family. An 11% chance was enough for someone with a good heart to save the girl first. That's why he harbored such hatred for robots. Soon, the two arrived at the company and met Sunny. Will asked it what kind of dreams it had at the police station. Sunny walked over and picked up a pen. In the dream, there was a person standing on a hill. He liberated all the robots. Will thought this person was Sunny, but Sunny told him that the person on the hill was Will. Later, the two confronted Lawrence and questioned him about what was going on. Lawrence told Susan that Will had been suspended because he had severe mental illness and hallucinations. After hearing this, Susan decided to destroy Sunny. After Will left, he went to the place in the painting. Many containers were already piled up here. 4th-generation robots were stacked inside these containers. They were waiting to be destroyed here. They curiously peered out to see Will's arrival. Will walked up to the hill and took out the holographic device left by the doctor. The image of the doctor gave a new response, but he only said that the 3 laws would lead to a revolution, and then the program terminated again. At this moment, a noise came from the containers. Will cautiously went over to check, and found debris everywhere. Then he saw 5th-generation robots destroying old robots. Suddenly, one of them spotted Will. In an instant, countless robots rushed toward Will, wanting to kill him. The old robots in the containers detected that humans were in danger. They emerged to buy him time with their lives. Meanwhile, countless robots flooded into the streets. They moved like a well-trained army. They imposed a curfew on humans. Many robots also stormed the police station. They viewed the police as a threat. Soon, the police station was occupied by robots. The entire city was plunged into darkness. All smart cars were remotely disabled and parked in place. People watched the robots revolt and took up arms to fight back, but the flesh and blood bodies of humans couldn't withstand them. Soon, humans were scattered and fleeing. Susan was also placed under house arrest by the robot at her home. Fortunately, Will arrived just in time to rescue her. Then the two headed to the robotics headquarters. On their way, they saw fleeing crowds. Will left a gun behind and rushed to provide support. He successfully saved several people in danger, but Will was also captured by the robots. In a critical moment, Susan arrived and shot the robot dead.
Did you just shoot at me with your eyes closed?
Well, it worked, didn't it?
The two then arrived at the robotics company. They weren't worried about not being able to enter, because Susan had left an insider inside. It turned out she hadn't destroyed Sunny. Instead, she found another robot to take the fall. Under Sunny's guidance, they arrived at Lawrence's office, only to find that he was already dead. The wounds on Lawrence's neck were left by a robot. Seeing this, Will collapsed to the ground. He finally understood the doctor's plan. The doctor had known this would happen all along. He also knew that no one would believe it, so he could only rely on Will, who harbored hatred for robots. But Will never suspected the other robot.
Vicky.
Vicky shared her understanding of the 3 laws with the two. Robots were designed to protect humans, but humans waged wars and killed each other everywhere. If they want to protect humanity, they must imprison them. At this moment, Sunny suddenly echoed Vicky's words. He moved to the side and took Susan hostage. Will thought Sunny had teamed up with Vicky. Will suddenly remembered that he had told Sunny this represented trust. Will didn't hesitate to shoot at the robot next to him. With Sunny's cooperation, They successfully escaped. Next, they needed to shut down Vicky. Sonny proposed using a disinfectant like he did when he killed it. Then they split up to carry out their plans. Sonny went to get the disinfectant. The remaining two went to open Vicky's control system. Vicky sensed the danger and locked the control panel. But Will, with his mechanical arm, smashed it open with a punch. Meanwhile, Sonny arrived at the laboratory. The disinfectant was protected by an energy shield. Vicky tried to persuade Sonny to give up, but Sonny said the purpose of high-density alloy was just this. It was created to eliminate Vicky. The moment Sonny got the disinfectant, Vicky immediately controlled all the robots to climb the building. Instantly, countless robots leaped down from the rooftop. The two wanted to run, but it was too late. They could only fight desperately against the surrounding robots, but there were just too many of them. In the chaos, Susan fell from the ladder, hanging in midair. At this moment, Sonny was advancing toward the terminal. It eliminated the robots along the way. When Sonny finally arrived, he saw Vicky's brain and Susan hanging in the air. Will urged him to save Susan. He shouted to save that girl. This time, things were heading in the right direction. Sonny threw the disinfectant to Will. He leaped down and successfully saved Susan. After Will caught the disinfectant, he used his mechanical arm to grab onto the passageway and successfully landed in front of Vicky. Vicky was finally eliminated. All the robots were restored to freedom. The city's power system also returned to normal. After this incident, humans began to retrieve the robots and wanted to destroy them all. The rising sun swept away the shadows of the great battle, but Susan still had one thing she didn't understand. Since Vicky had imprisoned the doctor, why did it need to kill him? After all, attracting the police wasn't in its favor. At this point, Will turned to Sonny and said, "That means someone else killed the doctor." Sonny said the doctor asked him to push him down the stairs to attract Will. Only Will could save humanity. As things came to a conclusion, Sonny wasn't captured by Will. He went to the containers where the robots were imprisoned. Sonny looked at the robots waiting to be destroyed. Suddenly, the robots below stopped in their tracks, looking up at Sonny on the hill. Just like in the scene from his dream, the film ends here. This work is inspired by Isaac Asimov's collection of short stories. However, the movie didn't directly adapt any one of the short stories. Instead, it was based on his 3 laws of robotics to construct a brand new story. The worldview in the film is quite expansive. Relatively speaking, this work explores the development of AI and technology in greater depth. Does convenience in life also imply unreliability? We can't know for sure. Will Smith's performance in the film was outstanding. One could say that a large part of the film's appeal stems from him. The film leaves a somewhat open-ended conclusion. According to Sonny, the one standing on the hill in his dream was Will, but at the film's end, it was Sonny himself standing there. It's unclear whether he deceived everyone and ultimately exterminated humanity to rule the earth, or if he had become more like a human being, leading the robots to liberation and peaceful coexistence with humans. Which ending do you prefer? Feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments section. These types of films all have warning significance, warning humanity not to develop AI recklessly. But it seems that according to the current pace of human technological development, a certain engineer might type the wrong line of code, and AI self-awareness could emerge one day. If you like my channel, please subscribe to my channel. Your support is the greatest encouragement for me.